going on, everybody? Eddy here with my main man, Jon Finkel, the roaming reporter in Texas. What's up, sir?
How are you, buddy? It's good to talk. It's a beautiful day here. Hope it's nice where you are.
Dude, yeah, today it's like I was thinking of almost setting myself up outside. I got too much junk. I got too many speakers and like
That's my
microphones. I'm
shtick.
like,
You can't steal my
no.
shtick. You're the inside guy.
Yeah, I'm like, but it was so nice. I'm like, I want to do it from my backyard, but like, no, forget it. Can you imagine me like bringing the stormtrooper and all that stuff out? Yeah. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
You just have to listen. Just take it from someone who knows. You just have to find a very nice brick background and stand there, and it looks great.
There you go. Everybody, thanks for checking out the Lunch Break Show. As always, Monday, Wednesday, John and I chat about the things that's going on in the world of parenting and, of course, fatherhood. Today's topic is inspired by my main man. He had a story that he wants to kind of share, but we want to know, like, what is, like, one of the worst things that you've said that maybe you didn't think your kids were around, but guess what? They heard. So John's going to share his story, and then I'll share one of mine, and we'll kind of go from there. I mean, I bet there's countless stories, but the story you told me yesterday while we were prepping up for the show, I was like, yeah, this will be a good show.
Yeah, there's a couple of versions of this. There's the one where, like, you say something really embarrassing about a friend or a relative or somebody, or something that you definitely didn't want them to know or hear, and you kind of have to do complete damage control so your kid never repeats it because it was just maybe in a moment of whatever. And the other one is when you just, like, you're using a word or a phrase or a swear about somebody and your kids just hear it. And so for me, we live in a neighborhood that has an HOA, a homeowner association, and they have this rule about parking on the street or no parking on the street, and ours was waived just because the way we moved in with my wife having taking call, like, I can't really park in the driveway because she has to get out and go. I'm not getting up at 3 a.m. to move my car, right? So we have a thing or whatever. Anyway, there's a woman in our neighborhood. I'm sure people have these in all walks of life who just basically doesn't do anything, I guess, all day and just drives around and takes pictures of tiny little violations. And so she'd sent several pictures over the years we've lived there of my car on the street, basically just a phone shot, my car on the street. And occasionally we get things from the HOA like, hey, remember, you're not supposed to park on the street. And the one I got one this last week, and it was the third one. So I, being nice, like, magnanimously decided to just go talk to her. I was like, look, I don't know if you're aware, but we have a waiver. We've had one for years. Like, I'm allowed to park on the street because of this. So I would appreciate it if whatever is compelling you to take pictures of my car, that it's on the street, that everybody could see anyway, and sending it to the HOA company, like, just stop doing it. Because I don't want to get these notes anymore. I don't have to make the phone call. And she was ultra rude and really a word you could think of right away, like nasty. And so as I walked away, a buddy of mine was walking by with his kids and just came in the backyard for a bit. And he was like, oh, you were talking to person X. And the kids were playing over. We have a swing set in the backyard. And I was 99% sure they'd all run inside, and they did, except for my son, who overheard me call this woman an effing loser. And which she 100% is. It is no doubt this is what she is. And within 30 seconds, my son repeats that phrase and then proceeds. He doesn't know really, knows you're not supposed to say the F word, obviously, but really doesn't know what a loser is. He's only 6 and thinks the dog is an effing loser, and anything that goes wrong, if the sister takes something, she's an effing loser. So I've, in terms of worse things, harm or whatever, like, he doesn't really know who this woman is, so it won't get back to her. Yeah. But in terms of a phrase that you really don't want a 6-year-old throwing out there, which sounds so adult, like, oh, what a, so that's where this came from is my, and I looked at my buddy and I looked and I was like, oh, crap. Like, this phrase isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Thanks for being honest. Thanks for sharing it. We always want to make sure that we're, honest here, and there's going to be slip ups. We're not all perfect, right? This ain't an Instagram picture perfect world. So let me ask you this: like, what did your wife say? Has you said it around your wife?
My son has not said around her, but my wife and I are very on the same page in terms of when the kids aren't around. I admit to freely swear. I enjoy a good swear here or there, and probably more often than that. And so she agreed. When I told her the story, she's like, well, one day we'll explain to him that when we're explaining what kind of people are effing losers, it's people like that. And I was like, yeah, that's what we'll do. But right now, we just have a 6-year-old who thinks it's hilarious to say, and anybody who crosses him or takes his toy pteranodon, they're now effing losers.
Awesome, man. We got some people checking in right now. We got Stacy saying I was telling my boyfriend that my ex-husband was being a dick, and my oldest son asked me, "Mom, what's a dick?"
Yes. Very good.
And then Justin goes, "My 6-year-old daughter heard me say TikTok, mother effer, and repeat where to go, and repeated it right off the bat." And my wife had a field day with that one for sure. So yeah, I mean, thanks for sharing that, Justin. And we got another one. We got Jen saying, "Car turned into the road." This is my story too. And crossing while speeding, and I was crossing with my 2 children, and I yelled to the person that nearly hit us, I have a blanking baby. My daughter repeated this, and this at the supermarket when someone hit our trolley with theirs. Pure mortification, both on the part of me and the other person.
Oh, so actually, so we had an issue in our neighborhood. Maybe it was really when the weather was turning. So like last maybe November or so, where there was a couple people who were using our neighborhood to cut through. Because our neighborhood's in the middle of like kind of, I won't say 2 main roads, but 2 well-used roads.
Yeah.
And we were catching people a lot of times, like trying to fly, wind through it to miss the traffic on the lights. And so we put up one of those signs like drive like your kids live here and all those kind of things. Anyway, I was outside one day and this woman was driving and she was clear. I could see her from far away. She was going like 40 through the neighborhood and I saw her phone like from as far as I could above she was clearly texting or watching something on her phone. And she's flying by. My kids and our neighbors' kids are on their little bicycles, and I happen to have a tennis ball in my hand, so I chucked it, and a buddy of mine was like, scream, "Slow the F down," you know what I mean? Like, because she was gonna bomb in everybody. So we ran and got the kids out of the street, and well, that was one where all the kids, for anybody going too quickly, were now slow the F down. But that was like in the heat of the moment. Like this woman, she like slammed on the brakes. And we actually followed her she actually turned out she lived in the neighborhood. So I got on my bike and followed her home. And I was like, "What are you doing? Like, yeah, your kids are in high school or they're graduated, but like we have all these little kids.
Yeah.
You can't ride through a neighborhood like ours bombing around going 40 on your phone. You can't do it anywhere, but especially like with mostly like 6, 7, 8, and 5-year-olds running around. Anyway, that was another instance.
Yeah, for me, like I think I was driving. My kids were a few years younger, so I think I was maybe still in New Jersey. I don't know, but there was a car that almost that almost hit us because they weren't paying attention. I could see the person like with the phone driving, and they weren't paying attention. Bad. And like I had the right away. I was like, "Son of a!"
Yeah.
And my oldest was like, what is a son of a? And I'm like, "Oh, great." So I'm like, "Don't use that." I just went, but it was just something where like I lost like all of my parental advisory control. I'm like, because there was a moment where like we could have gotten like T-boned, and I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, you get in these moments where like, especially as they get older, all kids all know, don't say the F word, don't say the S word or the B word or whatever, however you say it. But every now and then, like moments happen, and that comes out, or like. You'll be, I coached, I know you've coached, like, even if it's not a swear word, like I remember recently there was a coach on the other team and we've had this conversation before about like, awful coaches who, and the coach did something and we were walking back to the car and I was talking to one of the other parents on my team and the guy's like, "Yeah, I encountered, I've encountered this other coach in a few other leagues." And I was like, "He's just a moron," and my, the kids immediately hear like, "Who's a moron? What's a moron? Which coach is a moron?" It's like, is it so-and-so's dad? Is it so-and-so's dad? And you're like, "Look, I didn't even say anything. You just overheard me say something, and you can't go say that, eventually they figured out who we were talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So-and-so's dad's a moron." And I'm like, he's not, then you're like walking it back. Like, he's not that he's a moron. It's just he won't, the thing this guy does, it's such an overbearing dad, like overbearing coach thing now. But like, if we have 6-year-old kids and you're trying to sub him in to be fair, and if he won't do the subs unless there's a stoppage of play, and you're like, "Look, man, kid tripped and hurt his toe, he's ready to come back in, there's no real stoppage anyway. What are we teaching a kid when he's like, I'm ready to go, and you're like, "Yeah, all right, come back in real quick for 4-on-4 6-year-old soccer." Like, you're being a moron. And anyway, you just get, but part of me is like, they'll figure it out. What are you gonna do, be like, the guy's a poop head? Like, what it's all the same. being mean.
I like if an adult saying that to another adult, that's like a Will
Yeah.
Ferrell like elf moment, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
our
Yeah,
boy
exactly.
our boy Adrian says, "Is it cool that 4 kids under 10 watch Die Hard movies?" Right? Of course, you have that line, "Yippee ki yay, mother!"
Yeah,
So
that's I have my son's 6, and I've taken him to see like no R movies, but PG-13 is well within his wheelhouse. And there's a difference. My kids at least inherently know what they see on TV or hear. Like they just don't repeat. I think it has maybe like 100 times more impact. If you went home and your kids, you come home from work and it's like, how was work? And you're like, I closed the deal, yippee ki yay! But like then they would remember that forever. But in a movie, they pretty much are probably like, oh, John McClane said the F word.
yeah, right, yeah. We had Craig saying my oldest son at 6 called his wife, my ex-wife, easy blanking hooker, and then he goes into it. He's like, truth to me because I was talking to my brother when I found out she cheated. So he's actually like, again, like car moment where something happens right on the spot. You don't really know what's going on in the sense of like who's around you. So
that is a big one. The reason it started was overhearing. Like there are moments, like you said, where you're in the car and you just have a momentary slip, and the kids hear it. But the other one is really when you just don't think they're around and you're just being an adult, and that's where it's like I'm sure we've all had it where some relative is visiting or someone's in town and like they leave or whatever, and you're trying to be sarcastic, like, oh, you're gonna miss cousin so and so, and you or your wife are like, oh God, no. And they're like, why? We love them. You're like, no, I meant. Like that's such harmless stuff.
yeah.
But you're just having an adult conversation about other adults, and it's in our nature to recap visits and people and things. But it always seems so much worse when there's a chance your kid will encounter this person without you, like specifically this person in our neighborhood, who I don't know if my son knows exactly who she is, but I don't want it to be the case where like we're walking the dog, and he's like, oh, that's the woman who's the effing loser.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. That's right. That's who that is. Good job, buddy.
Oh, that's fantastic. Our boy Rand says, when my dad was with us, he would take my son and I everywhere. Well, he was an aggressive driver. My son would sometimes ask or repeat Papa's phrases while in the middle of random places.
Yes, that's great.
Yeah. Craig again says, when my oldest was 9, he would tell his mom that he wouldn't touch you with his brother.
Oh, that's great.
That's like a line from Biggie. Oh, it's kind of a take on a line from Notorious B.I.G. in one of his songs.
I remember when I you call someone like a schmuck or something like that, like, and my son couldn't pronounce it, and he would just call it. He would just be like, "You're a suck," right? And it was like, well, you can't say that either. And then you realize, like, you can't get around it. If you're saying something negative about somebody, whatever you call them, whether it's a real bad word or even if you just say someone's a jerk or they're mean, your kids, like, for some reason, their radar goes up because they know they're not supposed to be mean and not nice and whatever. But we know as adults there are people who are that way, and you're venting or getting it out and doing what you have to do. But like, I just think there's a moment in kids' minds that, and I don't know what age it is. Your kids are older, but it's probably 13, 14, 15, like where you can kind of just get away with whatever and they know. But that sweet spot of like 6 to 10, you just got to watch yourself. Because younger than that, it's silly almost. If a kid, if your 4-year-old says ass, you're like, oh, they overheard me. It's a 4-year-old. But like, as they get older, it seems more meaningful when an 8-year-old says it.
Uh-huh. And you're waiting for them to use those words on you when they are fighting with you, right?
Oh, yeah, that we did. Yeah. If my son calls me an effing loser, we may have a problem. But right now, it seems benign. He doesn't seem to have repeated it. It seems to be only used for offenders of people who like hide his dinosaurs on him or something. And he hasn't used it in a few days. But I texted you because yesterday morning he said it, so I guess not at 2 days. But he didn't say it last night at all. And it may be, hopefully now the ship has sailed on losers.
Wait, the what has sailed?
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, one place where your kids can find no bad language, I'll tell you, this book right here,
yes,
The Life of Dad book, came out last week. A lot of people have been showing their love and support. Father's Day is coming up next month.
Best present ever.
Best present ever. A lot of cool things. Even moms are saying, like, one of my friends, she's a mom. She was like, I wonder how much information I'm going to get from this dad book. Probably a lot. So
yes,
everybody, we appreciate the support. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million. You can get it at Walmart online, Target online, anywhere where books are sold. Pick it up. We appreciate the support. You guys have a great rest of the week. We'll see y'all next Monday. And again, in June, we got something cool for Father's Day. We're going to be working with a company, and you guys have a chance to win something cool for Father's Day as well. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned next week for another great round of shows, but have a great rest of the week. And John and I'll see y'all later.
See ya.